Hey, this is Gerd Handel, and welcome to the Inner Light Project. This show is for anyone who's wanting to lead a happier, healthier, and enlightened life. Create more self-love, inject more joy and abundance into their daily life. Join me for inspiring interviews and spiritual topics so you can shine your inner light. Hello and welcome to a special episode of the Inner Light Project. My name is Gerd Handel and today I have a lovely guest with me who is helping people to be their best self. Alissa Tang is a holistic catalyst and energy practitioner and helps individuals to see the value in themselves. She believes holistic healing in a lifestyle of well-being, self-awareness and kindness is a step towards our inner self. Alissa, it's an absolute pleasure having you on the show and thank you for joining us here in the space today.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello. How's everyone? How are you?
Oh, bless you. I'm really good, thank you. Thank you for just coming on the show because we've known each other for, a good few years and we've always had those odd little conversations, and like this time I just think it's so interesting for the listeners to learn what your story was like before you became an energy practitioner.
Well, long story short, maybe. A few years back, when I had my daughter, we had some changes. I had some changes in my life that I needed to kind of, sit back and kind of think about. So I actually had gone and looked for some of the things that I wanted to do as a stay-at-home mom, maybe going from full-time to part-time, having a second child. So I had gone into a company that was selling vegan products, and who I have met through a friend, and she had introduced me to selling vegan products, to how I can grow my own business, I can do this at home, and it was something I thought I wanted to do because being in the holistic field for many years, doing research for many years, this was like a jump start, like another stepping stone. I thought, I can spread my wings out to different people and to different communities and help other people the way I feel that can add and benefit them from the inside out. So while doing that for several years, I kind of felt myself like lagging back and going, well, what else can I do with my life? There's got to be more to this purpose.
Yeah.
So I kind of looked back and just kind of sat with confusion for like maybe a year, not understanding what I wanted to do. It was like I evolved into like another spiritual awakening. I went through this process of it wasn't like a depression. It was just kind of like a sadness. Like I wanted to do more, but how can I provide myself more to the world, more for humanity to like become healthier, become knowledgeable and, to take care of themselves, the way they should, like just to heal,
Yeah.
And a year went on not knowing what I wanted to do. And a lot of synchronicities came up. And I had met with actually an intuitive reader who had said, well, your life is full, like I can see healing, I can see energy work, I can see healing in the process. And I was confused because I was like, what is energy work? I was like, what is this? And funny how energy work came up, because within the year that I was going through this, a modality called Reiki came into my life, and I didn't know what it was. I was like, what is this? I'm like, okay, I want to get it done, but like, I wasn't really interested in it. It wasn't something that I was like, I jumped, and said, oh, I'm so curious. Like, what is this? It's just like, oh, okay. Just kind of left it on the side. Like, this is interesting. It balances you, and it works with your energy and all that stuff. And that was it. It was just kind of left on the side. And through like all of this experience, with my intuitive reader, she said, like you should pick up doing energy work. You're like a healer. And I was like, okay, like what kind of healer? What kind of energy work is this? And what do I do? And And she was like, well, like, just, I guess, look at, she was doing Reiki, and she was like, why don't you look at a modality called Reiki? And I was like, well, I
Wow.
actually heard of it because it's something that um, was brought up, and I just never looked further into it. So that happened, and a couple days later, I had gone to a store with my friend, a metaphysics store actually, and they had Reiki course there, and
Mm.
she was like, you know what, they have like this Reiki course, and do you want to take it? You get certified. And I was like, at the time, I thought like Reiki certification, becoming a practitioner, was like thousands of dollars. I was like, I can't do this at the moment. So I was like, like, she's like, no, this is just like a few $100s. It's really easy to do. And I was like, okay, like, we thought about it, and it wasn't something that she wanted to do. It was actually something like a synchronicity in the universe calling out to me, and it wasn't something she was interested in. So I was like, oh, what is, okay, so this Reiki course is 2 days, it's happening soon. And I end up jumping in with both feet, going in and go, okay, I'm going to sign up for this. And she was like, okay, you're going to do this? And I said, yeah, I'm going to do it. And she didn't end up doing it. And I end up getting certified
Wow.
within the month. So it was like a universal, like, guidance, with all these synchronicities happening at the moment, right after like my intuitive reading with, my friend, and then her, going into this metaphysics store, and them having a course. It all kind of like started then, and my journey began with Reiki within a year after that course.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
I want to take it a bit back because you were talking
Sure.
about how that year you didn't know what was going on. I guess within that year, your soul was trying to allow you to kind of almost have a break from the outer world and actually listen from within.
Yes, I actually I spoke to you. And I was like
Right.
really confused at the time because we're chatting back and forth a few times, but it wasn't anything like major, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, so could you, like, do you recommend something for me? And like, how do I get just myself out there, like my personal growth to become more? And you had recommended The Alchemist for me.
Love that book.
Yes, you had recommended a book, and that started to pick up more, I guess, of another type of spiritual awakening for me. It was like a whole new perspective and an outlook of, like hope, and like co-creating with the universe, with yourself, with others. Like it was a book of there's more to life, you know, than just kind of staying stagnant.
Yeah. That's so true. I feel like it's a book for anybody who's going on, like you said, like you're a bit confused or you're going on a journey, you don't really know where you're heading. But this book kind of almost brings you back home to yourself.
It does, and it's been such an inspirational book for many people who have read it over the course of the years that I've read it. I've like the first book I've recommend is always like The Alchemist, and it's like I was recommended this book and you have to read it, so I always recommend The Alchemist, and it's an eye opener for a lot of people, because a lot of people don't think that they are powerful, like we are as individuals so powerful in everything that we do, and this is my journey through my healing practice too, is that as individuals, we are super powerful to heal our bodies.
Yeah, we already know the answers. We just haven't tapped into it in that moment.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's true. We don't. It's like life is like a rat race. We're so stressed. We're so we're rushed. The world is so rushed. It's so noisy, so loud, and we don't have time to slow down. We don't have time to sit and think about what else we can do. We have to I mean, we have to be mindful of every action we take, and we have to be mindful of the time that we take for ourselves. It's just not like we live in this world where we're just like free to like, go out there and be, it's like stillness.
Yeah.
It's always so loud and so rush.
Yeah, and I feel like the older generations back like years and years ago, that they had that time to connect and understand, whereas our generation, they seem to want to just rush. Everything is about getting the latest gadget, getting the latest thing, going to this place, and not really connecting with our inner technology. We're too busy following the outer technology.
Yes, totally agree. Absolutely. We're tunnel vision in our like, you know, with our TVs, with our phones, with the latest gadgets, like you said, the iPads and all this stuff. It's like we're not able to stop for a second and just kind of be mindful of what is inside our bodies. Like we don't hear what our body's telling us.
Yeah, and I feel like with the younger generation, it's more obvious. Like there's a lot of young people who are depressed or they're taking tablets, and they're too busy on technology or playing with technology, like technology things, that they don't really go out like how we grew up, right? Going in the garden,
Yes.
running around, throwing ourselves in the mud, doing some gardening. Like that's how we were raised, and I feel like that's what made us intuitive. Whereas this younger generation, they're so lost, but it's not their fault. It's what we've created in a way for them.
Right.
But it takes a longer time for them to actually connect with themselves.
Yes, they're not, like you said, they're not hearing. We're not connected. We're not hearing the inside of our soul and our spirit in order to connect to the outside world as we naturally should. It's not like a natural process like it used to be. It's so we're disconnected, but connected.
Yeah, I feel that's why we kind of have to show up even more now than before, because there's so many other distractions out there. We have to really be ready and be focused to actually be ready to look from within. And once we do, it's just like a beautiful journey.
It is. It's super powerful. We are so infinite in the way we can think that there's so much more that we can like co-create. It's just we just have to bring that out again.
Yeah, it's interesting you said that, because there's a video that I watched recently, and I think it was called The Abundance Code, and somebody in there, I've forgotten his name, I think it might have been David Hamilton, talks about how we're already trained as children. Even the games that we play, right, Alissa, like those are actually training us to compete. So like the game where we play musical chairs, and every minute you move a different chair out, or you take another chair out and you're left with one. They're already like psychologically training us to compete with like playing these games. It's already they're ingraining into us that we need to compete no matter what. And suddenly then we end up thinking this is a game actually, but it's really not a game. It's a game of control.
It is. It's a game of control from the outside world, not us controlling the outside world, from the inside out.
Yeah. It's really interesting, because I when I saw it, I was just so shocked. I was just like, oh my God, we actually have been trained from a young age, and we haven't realised that. That's why we always feel like there's something incomplete within us, because we're too busy listening to what we're told on the outer world, whereas our inner world wants something else. Our inner world wants to co-create, wants to love, wants compassion, wants to just trust in everything, whereas the outer world says the opposite, right?
Right. I should take a look at that video. I should show it to my kids too.
Yeah, I think it's so important. Like when I watched it, I was shocked.
Yeah, it's it should be brought to everyone's attention. It should be brought into schools and stuff like that too. Like we should be taught stuff like that, how to connect.
Yeah, I think it's key. Definitely.
Yeah, it is. We can bring that abundance in our lives, because when we're young, we're so young, we're taught to disconnect so fast that as we get older, we have to relearn what we've lost.
Yeah. And I don't know if you're the same like myself. Like when you were bored, you just look out the window and like daydream, but then you'd get told off.
You do? Oh my gosh. I was just going to say the same thing. I was like, what I tell my kids, I'm like, sometimes you have to be bored. Like maybe sit in the middle of the room and stare at the four walls, and maybe you can test out your imagination a little bit more. They look at me like, you're okay. It's like they don't know how to be bored. And I remember, as kids, we would always daydream, stare out the window, or when we're driving somewhere far, like we have no gadgets, no technology in the car, and we just like stare out into space, like,
Yeah.
and just observe.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, and especially, or we'd like lay down on the grass and just watch the sky moving.
Yeah, it's
Mm,
healing.
yeah.
It's like, oddly enough to say that it's daydreaming is like another form of like healing.
I see it like we're being present. That's when we're actually truly
Yes.
present, is when we're lost in that moment. It's actually, we're not
Mhm.
really lost. We're actually being present and being grounded in ourselves.
Yes. Yes, absolutely true. Being present is important too.
Yeah, absolutely. So, my dear, you're now a holistic catalyst and energy practitioner. So, how are you helping people?
Well, I have a Reiki. I do the Reiki practice, so I heal people. I treat them from the inside out with my healing practice, and I also do coaching with them as well too. So when they come in for the healing sessions, they always like to come in for personal development. So we end up doing some healing sessions with it while we're doing the energy balancing. We go through the mind, body, and spirit, section, the physical, the mental, emotional bodies, and the many ways to kind of utilize uh, the tools that we have in our everyday living to kind of fit in with what they want in their life, and how it can benefit them. I just try to use all the knowledge and all the experiences that I have learned throughout the course of all these years, and just kind of bring it into awareness of the individual.
Amazing. And for somebody out there who doesn't know what Reiki is, could you kind of like put it in like basic terms what Reiki means to you?
Reiki is a form of energy healing. So it's another modality that they call. It's based on energy balancing, and Reiki we use the palm of our hands. So everything is through the palm of our hands. Everything is made up of energy. So we're all energy, and the universe is energy, and we are like life force energy. So what happens is the Reiki will channel through my hands, and we get attuned for this as practitioners and certified Reiki practitioners. We get attuned for the Reiki, and the Reiki channels from the hand, and we position it on the client's body in several positions, and we either place our hands on top of the positions on the body, or we place it and hover it above the individual. So, and then the energy kind of works from there. Reiki is very intuitive, so it knows what it needs to do in the energy body, and how it can treat a person from the emotional body, the mental body, and the physical body. So the practitioner is just there to help channel, and the Reiki just kind of does its thing. It's a very delicate process. It's not harmful. Kids can get Reiki done. Adults can. Older people can. Animals, plants. You can give Reiki to just about anything.
I've actually had Reiki done before.
Oh, have you?
I love.
How did it feel?
Oh my god! It was during a time where I had I had kidney problem last year, so I had an operation in December, and I just needed somebody to alleviate the pain. So one of my friends who we actually had on the show, Aldo, he's an energy Reiki certified person as well, and I went to go see him, and oh my god, all the pain went.
Wow.
So before my op, I had no pain in my kidney, no pain in my body. I felt so light. I felt like almost like an angel, like a really airy feeling, just very calm and very relaxed, and just I felt like someone almost had given me like a boost of vitamin D.
Yes, it can do that to you. I've had a lot of clients come up from the session, and they'll be like, I thought it was at home sleeping. I didn't know that I was still here because they're so zened out,
Wow.
so relaxed and so refreshed. And like some people end up falling asleep during like a Reiki session. So I'm like, you can fall asleep, just relax and let the Reiki do its thing. And it works while you're sleeping. Like I always give myself Reiki sometimes unknowingly when I'm falling asleep. So when I'm placing my hands on my body, the Reiki immediately will start to activate. And so it just kind of does its thing even while I'm sleeping. So it's super amazing.
Yeah.
The modality, the energy healing that it does is amazing. Like I've become more aware of myself through the process of Reiki for these several years. And like I've seen the change in my life, and I've seen the change in myself and like outside of myself. It's been incredible.
Yeah. Well, I've known you for a good few years. I see the difference, and I'm just like, wow. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is like you coming back to who you actually truly are, and I think it's just so beautiful because I feel like the important thing that's coming out is that even when we don't know where the journey's heading or where we're going, just let it flow, and you'll get the answers, but listen from within, because we all have that calling. We just have to pay attention to those little pitter-patter signs. And sometimes it's not actually the voice from within. Sometimes it's somebody like we said, like, hands a book over to somebody, or something just pops up in a shop and you just kind of notice it. Or sometimes it's a random stranger on the street who you're talking to and they give you the perfect advice in that moment.
Yes. It's like they activate some kind of like code in you, and you're just like, oh, you're like, I'm here. It's amazing how that works, and as we speak about how everything is made up of energy, this is the energy that we emit. Like everybody has a huge energy field. And when you go into like a room, or when you're standing beside somebody, like you can feel their energy. This is what it feels.
Yeah.
That's what it is. We're sending out energy signals, and people can feel them. And we're calling out to the universe, like, help me, or like, and it's like, hey, I can hear you, and then they're just emitting like signals everywhere. And that's like the whole synchronicity, and that's the whole like intentional living. And that's when everything starts to manifest in your life.
Yeah. And I feel like we forget that we're all made up of energy. Like we all have healing hands. I think a lot of us don't know that. Like I remember this was a good few years ago, and I had no idea like I had energy in my hand. It was like one day I felt this weird like tingling sensation, and I was like, oh, this feels really odd. And I suddenly put my hand on my right hand, and I felt this weird like current go through my body, and I jumped, and I thought, what is this? And then I just ended up playing around with it, and suddenly I started to realize actually the power of our hands. And like I remember I was at an event or something, and someone says, oh, I don't feel well, and I said, oh, just close your eyes for a sec. And I thought, let me just see what happens. And I just put my hand over, and they were like, wow, I feel better. And I thought, oh my god. And when I looked actually into it, if you think about it, all of our ancestors know this.
Yes,
our ancestors were doing this like long before we were here, and we've forgotten about what they have taught us. So it's about coming back to what they have taught us and trusting that soul from within, because we all have the ability to heal ourselves. We all have the ability to heal each other. It's just trusting in that we're all here as a magnetic force, and we're here to empower one another and uplift each other. And that no matter what health problem you're going through, or you're feeling low, you have the ability to switch that around, whether that's doing Reiki, whether that's any other healing modality, or whether that's just healing yourself and your body, right?
Yes, it is. It's everybody has, whether you're young or older, everybody has those healing hands. Your touch is, how they say, right? They're like, your touch is important, like, like you touch someone, like literally, like that's what it is, like the healing hands, the power of your hands. It's everyone can do it. And I totally recommend like even everyone getting attuned to this beautiful energy, like it's so powerful to get attuned to this. And even if you're not, like you said, like you just one day like felt this tingle in your hand. And we can all do this. We can all feel like when you start rubbing your hands together for a few seconds, and start to pull away, like you could feel your energy. And that is what happens, that's when the healing begins.
Yeah. And it's also important to remember, like, even if, like, say somebody has a very heavy energy and they put their hand on your shoulder, their hands are on your shoulder, you can feel that energy in your body. And sometimes you're like, oh, why is that? I just think it's so important to know that we all have good energy, but sometimes some people have heavier energies, and that's actually their journey of healing. So it doesn't mean that necessarily they're a bad person. It just means that they have a lot more to heal and that they're on a deeper journey. And that's something I just wanted to talk to you actually about, is that, like, our energy, if it's out of balance, that's kind of like the main reason that we get sick.
Yes. Energy is, because we're all made up of energy, or we have a huge energy field, and it's when our energy is out of balance and it's not in harmony with us, with our being as a whole, we do take it on. We take it on, and that's when you feel all of a sudden when people are like, oh my God, I feel this overwhelming of anxiety, of like stress, and I don't know if it's mine, or like we all get like that sometimes, right?
Yeah.
And we could be taking on somebody else's energy, or it could be our energy. And when we do take it on, not knowingly, we put it in our bodies. Our bodies carry on that stress, and then when our bodies carry on that stress, and we're not able to, heal it and release it, embrace it, or accept it, surrender to it, it hits us in a physical way, and we have physical problems after that, And then I was going to say, that's when the illnesses and the dis-ease comes into our physical body.
Yeah.
When we're in disharmony, imbalance with our energies.
That's so true. And I feel like a lot of us forget as well, like, if you're a sensitive soul like myself, and I feel like you're one as well, we feel things, we can't explain them. Like, it could even be animals, it can be like the sound of the air, or somebody who's had a really heavy day, and we can feel that, and they could be literally down the road. And to remember that that's not your energy, it's just that we're very like empathetic, and we're very understanding, but that doesn't mean that we need to take on that energy. There are ways of actually protecting yourself as well.
Speaking of, like, in a metaphysical term, I always tell my clients to maybe imagine. Imagination and intention is super powerful, and it's really powerful in my practice as well. Because before we go into a session, I always tell my clients to set their intention for their healing. And that works, like, the power of intention, right? Super powerful. And so with your intention, you can, sit for a second and kind of create like a bubble. Like, that's what I do. I create a little bubble, and, this, you can call it your shield, and before you go out into the world, or, you just kind of create this little shield bubble, and, and just kind of like mirror it out to the world. So I always tell my client to just think of it as a mirroring shield. So whatever energy that is coming towards you is not coming towards you, but it's just going through your bubble and out the other way. So you're not carrying on that energy that is not yours.
That's
so you're protected in that way.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I've started doing this thing, but I didn't have a clue. So a few years ago, I started wearing hats, and I had no idea, Alissa. I just loved hats. So I started wearing them everywhere I went. And then one of my friends who does yoga, she said, do you know why you wear hats? And I was like, no, I just like them. She's like, it's because you're protecting your energy. Your soul knew in order to protect your energy is to wear hats. And she was like, have you ever realised, like, certain people from, like, religious faiths, they wear, like, things to protect their head or cover their head? And I was like,
oh, yeah.
My God, I didn't even realise it. And what we can do, this is just something else that you guys can do out there, is that you can wear hats. So if you're feeling a bit emotional, or you're feeling a bit heavy that day, wear a hat, because that's your crown chakra.
Right. It's an easier way to totally just put a hat on and then just kind of go out, you know?
Yeah. And so like now I've got better, and like now I kind of know how to protect my energy, and like, you know, like you said, do the bubbles, and there's a few other things that I do, but there's also crystals I'll wear. So depending on my mood,
Mm-hmm.
I might pop a crystal in my pocket, or I might wear one. And that's another way of like protecting your energy as well. There's so many different tools out there, just like what Alissa was saying, you know, the bubble, but then there's all these other things that you can do to protect yourself. Like, you don't have to take on the burdens of the world. There are tools. Just trust. And yeah, seriously, I had no clue about the hats.
Yeah, you trust your guidance, your intuitive guidance. You're like, I'm just gonna put a hat on today,
Yeah.
and it worked.
And then I was like, oh, I'm
And
going to
that's
start
what it
wearing
was.
them more often.
Yeah, totally.
And then it was like, let's get different colours. Let's go to events in hats. Let's do this. And the amazing thing when my friend told me this, I actually realised when I went to certain events, when I didn't wear a hat, I felt knackered. When I wore a hat, I felt empowered.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That makes a difference. So we all should try wearing hats outside.
Yeah, like especially when you're a sensitive soul, like we pick things up so much, and
We do.
it's not that we're being mean. It's that if we learn how to protect ourselves, that helps the other person as well, because that's
Mm-hmm.
helping them to protect what they need to protect as well. Because sometimes we spark a light within somebody that they're not ready for.
Right.
So just doing little things like that can help as well.
Yes, it is. It's true.
Yeah. So Mate, I want to talk to you about your clothing brand because I've seen a lot of it out there. So can you tell us about it?
My clothing brand actually just started out of nowhere.
Love it.
I actually had an idea that I wanted to do, and I said I wanted to actually put a design that I had created. It was called Breathe Love, and I didn't end up putting it on there because I guess I wasn't ready for it yet, but I thought I was ready for it. It didn't happen, and it took a few years that came up to this point where I actually was like, okay, let's just do this. So I guess I was ready for it, and the universe was like, okay, you're ready, you know, we'll give it to you. So my clothing brand is actually based on experience your experiences. And the experience your experiences is allow yourself to experience and be the creator being that you are. And it's based on, you know, when people say you are what you eat, it's based on you are what you wear. So I have all these different graphic tees that says all these different things. It's like you're just kind of, you know, wearing something that inspires you, that, you know, that how you want to live and how you want to experience life.
Yeah, I love that because I think it's so important that the vibe of our clothes actually affects our mood as well, right?
Right. It's all, and it goes back to all about like energy and vibration and how you want to send that message out into the world, you know. And that's how I wanted to send my messages out there into the world was, you know, why not wear it? Right.
That is so true. Yeah. Anything that's got like, I feel like anything that says something positive, or even like the material of our clothes, we don't realize, like looking back at our ancestors, they kind of understood the reasons for wearing certain clothes, like cotton, because it's more breathable and it's more connected to nature, whereas we kind of wear a lot of clothing that's tight, or, you know, to kind of show our body, but actually is that really serving us?
Right. We have to feel that organic, right?
Yeah. And I feel like with your brand as well, it's about being yourself and being free. And it's about, it doesn't have to be tightly fitted. It's about being just yourself.
Right. Comfy.
Yeah.
Comfy. Let loose, you know?
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. Let loose. Yeah.
Flow.
Yeah, definitely. And Maddie, we are coming towards the end of the show. It's gone so quick.
Oh, yes, it has.
So I've got a few more questions for you. What are your 5 top tips for someone who wants to be their best self?
I would say my first one is to take responsibility. To take responsibility for yourself, you know, for your well-being. To have, you know, the full on self-care, self-love for yourself is so important. To be able to step into the world, you know, to feel authentic, you know, you must have that full self-responsibility. I think that would be the first one. The second one would be to slow down. Slow down, with, how we talked about earlier in the show where, everything is so rushed. Our world is so busy, so noisy. It's hard to take time to slow down. And if we do have a chance to slow down, sometimes it's only for 5 minutes, but even 5 minutes to slow down is more than never slowing down, and our body heals that way when we're in that slowing down mode. So I would say slow down. Third would be to listen to your body. So important. Well, taking responsibility, slowing down, is to also listen to your body. When you start listening to your body, you're able to hear, you're able to heal within. You're able to embrace all of those emotional, energy that comes up. So you're in alignment with what you and where you want to be, rather than, not listening to your body and then come to terms that your body is, not in harmony with who you want to be, Yeah. Where are we at? Third, fourth now. I'd say embrace life. Embrace life. Just start living, having no regrets, taking every opportunity that comes into your life, taking risks, taking that leap of faith, leap forward, and expect change. We go through change all the time. We shift from here to there in a matter of seconds. So I would say embrace life, embrace change, just enjoy it. Is be present in the moment. This is really hard to do for most of us. Even for me, I tend to always forget, to be present. And it's so important to come back to this moment, just to kind of, do all, the 5 things that I've said earlier, is just to be present.
I love that. Thank you. Those are beautiful 5
Those
tips.
Are my 5 tips.
Those are beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
My next question is, what are you most grateful for?
I'm most grateful for who I am and where I am now. I'm grateful for my kids. I'm grateful for my family and just everything.
Oh.
So that's what I'm grateful for.
I love that.
There's so much to be grateful for, there's so much to be grateful for. If you're how can you, when you feel grateful, you can't just feel it for 1 or 2 things. You immediately get into that vibration of being grateful for everything. So I probably would say for everything in my life.
And my last question is, what shines your inner light?
To inspire people to be creative, to allow my creativity, my healing to help serve the world, serve people.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Alissa, for being on the show, and thank you for shining your light and sharing your story with us, because I feel like I've learned a lot, and I feel like the listeners have definitely learned a lot, and just hearing your story and how far you've come is just so beautiful.
Thank you for having me on the show. I'm super honored, and I'm grateful for you.
Oh,
you've been a big part of my journey, and I'm so happy I've met you.
Oh,
and I learned a lot from you too. Guys, go check her out.
Wow, what an amazing interview with Alissa. Do check out her work, because she's amazing at what she does, and just knowing her for several years, I've seen how far she's come on her journey and how she's helping others. Unfortunately, that's the end of the show. Before I leave, I want to leave you with this quote. Dare to be what your best self knows you ought to be. Dare to be a bigger human being than you have ever been. That's a quote by Norman Vincent Peale. For more information about the show, Visit www.gerdshandel.com. And remember, stay happy, stay healthy, stay lit.